They say a love begins quietly, like a whisper that turns into a song. For me, it started with a photograph. It was late autumn, and the air smelled like rain and salt. I was sitting outside a small cafe in the coastal town I grew up in, waiting for the storm to pass. The world was gray, and everything felt a little tired, like even the sky had forgotten how to smile. That's when I saw her. She was standing by the bookstore across the street, holding a tattered umbrella that had given up halfway through the storm. Her hair stuck to her face, her dress clung to her knees, and yet, she laughed. Not the kind of laugh people make for others, but the kind you make when you're simply happy to be alive. I lifted my camera without thinking. The shutter clicked once. That single photograph would change everything. Later that night, I developed the picture, her silhouette framed against the dull light of the street lamp, the rain falling like silver threads around her. I couldn't stop looking at it. There was something about the way she stood there, fragile, but unafraid. A week later, I saw her again. Same cafe, same smile. I worked up the courage to show her the photo. She looked at it for a long time, tracing her finger along the edges. Then she smiled at me and said, "You shouldn't take pictures of strangers." I apologized, awkwardly, nervously, but she just laughed again. "It's okay," she said. "Just promise me this. If you ever take a picture of me again, make sure I'm smiling for real." Her name was Lila, and from that moment, I did everything I could to make her smile. We spent that autumn discovering the small joys everyone else seemed too busy to notice. The hum of old record players, the smell of second-hand books, the way the sea looked different every day. She loved words, and I loved silence. She filled the air with poetry. I captured the moments between her sentences. Sometimes, when the sun dipped low and painted her face in gold, she would say, "Promise me something, Ethan." I'd smile. "But this time, promise me that if we ever lose each other, you'll still say goodbye properly, not like people who just vanish." I didn't know why she said that, not then. I thought it was just another one of her poetic quirks. So I promised. I promised I'd never leave without saying goodbye. Looking back now, I think that was the moment I cursed myself, because some promises aren't meant to be made, not when you're human enough to break them. Lila got accepted to a university abroad. She told me one evening while we were walking along the pier. The sun had already set, but her eyes still held light. "It's a year, maybe two," she said, "just until I finish my literature program. Then I'll come back, and we'll see where life takes us." She tried to sound excited, but her voice trembled. I told her I was proud of her. I told her I'd visit. I told her we'd talk every day. And I believed it, because when you're in love, you think love can outlast distance. We wrote letters. Real ones. The kind that smelled like ink and paper and longing. Sometimes, I'd get one from her after weeks of silence, and I'd reread it until the edges wore out. But time is cruel. My photography career began to take off. I started getting offers, exhibitions, deadlines. There were interviews, travels, distractions. Every time I thought of writing back, I'd tell myself, tomorrow. Tomorrow became months. Her letters stopped coming. Then, one day, I received a small envelope with no return address. Inside was a note in her handwriting, soft and trembling. "Ethan, if you still love me, come find me before winter. I'll wait for you at the old pier on December 1st, like we promised." I read that note 100 times. I told myself I'd go. Of course I'd go. But that winter, my mother fell sick. The kind of sickness that steals time without warning. I couldn't leave her. Not when every day felt like it might be her last. So I stayed. And I told myself Lila would understand. I told myself I'd explain everything later. But I never did. And by the time I was ready, it was already too late. Years passed. I tried to bury her memory beneath my work. My photographs won awards, hung in galleries. People called me an artist. But I never felt proud, just tired. Every photo I took felt empty, like I was trying to capture something I'd already lost. One evening, I got invited to display my work in a gallery near my hometown. I hadn't been back in years. Something inside me told me to go. When I arrived, the town looked smaller, older, maybe. The sea smelled the same, but the laughter was gone. After the exhibit, I walked to the pier. It was quiet. The wood was rotten, the rails rusted, the sea still beating against it like a heart refusing to die. That's when I saw it, a glass bottle wedged between the planks. Inside was a note, old and faded. I pulled it out carefully. The paper was fragile, but I recognized her handwriting instantly. "Ethan, I waited until the sea froze. You never came. I hope your promise still meant something." My chest tightened. I sat there for hours, staring at the waves. Later, I found out from a local shopkeeper that a girl had fallen ill that winter. Pneumonia, they said. She used to come by every morning, sitting on the pier, staring at the horizon. No one knew who she was waiting for. I did. I named my next exhibition A Promise Unkept. Every photograph was a memory of her. The rain, the pier, the letters, the empty chair by the cafe window. The final photo was just an empty frame. No image, no subject, just a title beneath it that said, "The Goodbye I Never Gave." People stood in front of that frame for minutes, trying to understand it. Some said it was profound. Others said it was meaningless. But I knew it was all I had left of her. The silence of something unfinished. Sometimes, I go back to that pier. I sit where she used to sit. The sea hasn't changed. It still whispers the same way it did when we were young. I imagine her beside me, her laughter carried by the wind. And in those moments, I finally whisper the words I should have said years ago. "I'm sorry, Lila. Goodbye." Some promises break you quietly. Some echo in the spaces you'll never fill. Mine was both.